time to high drama. Did the plays inflame us? Well, let's see at 59 and 59 for Brits off Broadway with Youth in Flames. Mimi Martin's Youth in Flames is a coming-of-age story set in Hong Kong during the 2019 protests. Millie is an unsupervised teen whose parents frequently travel and uproot her from country to country, landing in Hong Kong now for 3 years. Millie likes to party and get drunk at Danny's bar. Her bestie Jesse is more serious type as he has very restrictive parents who expect great things from him, and he's a local. Things come to a head when Jesse wants to go to the protests that are happening because of the extradition bill. Hong Kong wants democracy and independence from China. Millie just wants to get drunk at Danny's bar. Unlike Jesse, who has a sense of home and belonging, Millie just drifts through her life. Her only anchor is Jesse. Against this historical backdrop, two teenagers get caught up in it, which changes their perspective forever. Mimi Martin is a very expressive actor. She's like a silent film star who can convey all kinds of emotions before she even speaks. Once again, due to vertigo, I had to listen to much of it as there was an awful lot of flashing lights in this, but it was such a good story that I got swept away anyway. Defiant Happy Face.
David Copperfield, adapted by Abigail Picard Price with Sarah Groban and Matt Pinchas, and directed by Abigail Picard Price, is an adaptation of the Charles Dickens coming-of-age novel. It tells the story of David Copperfield from his early life of being an abused orphan to becoming a successful writer, finding love and happiness with his childhood friend, Agnes Wickfield. This adaptation of David Copperfield features just three actors playing all the parts. Eddie Payne wonderfully plays the title role of David, while Luke Barton and Louise Beresford each seamlessly play all the other characters in David's life. They come and go with different costumes, accessories, and voices. They are simply amazing at what they do. It's a whirlwind of activity which keeps you entertained from beginning to end. Happy Face.
At 5090 59th Street, Brits off Broadway, we've got Red Fox Theatre Company and Megan Jenkins' Catch of the Day. It's a rollicking retelling of a true 1966 fishtale in Catholic Dingle, Ireland that does not look too fondly on the Queen, Patooey, and England. It's 1966, and Joe Walsh comes back with a very ugly fish they had never seen before. Luckily, there's someone in town who can identify it. Turns out it is like winning the lottery of fishes, as this is a royal fish. But by law, they have to give it to the Queen. But she is part of English royalty that have been plaguing the Irish for centuries. They find a loophole that they can give it to their head of state, Prime Minister Eamon de Valera. But what if that doesn't work out? They could be noble and give it to the nuns. Meanwhile, the entire town is all agog at this most unusual fish. The way Anna McCormick, Callan McGuire, Ben Simon, and John T. Weston interweave the story, becoming the characters of the towns, nuns and historical characters, is a sight to behold. Plus, we get to sing before and during the show. You must catch the catch of the day before it gets away from you. A delighted Happy Face.
Chloe Rice and Natasha Rowlands and The Rodeo Burn Down is now playing at Ars Nova through July 2nd. The show starts with a simple question. If the rodeo burned down, who did it? But that's not really what the show is about. Instead, we follow Dale, a rodeo clown who desperately wants to become a cowboy. Along the way, a mysterious shadow starts asking questions nobody wants to answer, and things get weirder from there. There are clowns, cowboys, fake cigarettes, bulls, shadows, and more than a few questionable life choices. It's completely ridiculous, and I loved it. Chloe and Natasha bounce between all these characters and these ideas while somehow keeping everything grounded. One minute you're laughing at something completely absurd, and the next you're caught off guard by a moment that's surprisingly sweet or thoughtful. By the end, what looked like a goofy rodeo comedy became something much bigger about ambition, identity, and chasing the person you think you're supposed to become. It's funny, inventive, a little chaotic, and completely its own. If you're tired of seeing the same kinds of shows over and over again, this one might be exactly what you're looking for.
The way Rice and Roland move with such synchronicity and idiosyncrasy that it is a marvel to behold. They are clowns in the way that Charlie Chaplin is, with his balletic movements, his ability to tug at your heart and tickle your funny bone. Stephen said it all, and I heartily concur with everything he said. This isn't my first rodeo with them, and it won't be my last. Yee-haw! Happy face.
And I give it a rootin' tootin' happy face.
At BAM is Todd Allman's I'm Almost There, which follows Todd's meandering and surreal story as he tries to reach a possible romantic interest who is waiting downstairs with coffee for them, all the while playing the piano. He meets his many neighbors who are the fellow musicians whom he always tried to avoid. An angry neighbor almost kills him, making him try and find a runaway cat. A neighbor professes his hatred for Todd, while another one could be a vampire. Finally, he seems to wander into a neighbor with a very familiar story. Will he ever get downstairs in time, or will he miss the opportunity to have the romance of a lifetime? Todd Allman is one of my favorite composers. I see his name and drop everything to see his shows. He can write the most haunting and lively music. In this case, he has this MacGuffin tale that keeps you on the edge of your seat while laughing uproariously at these improbable antics. Forget I'm almost there. You should be there. Major happy face, and Tony Marinelli's review will be on Facebook.
Michael Quinn's Feltman, World's First Hot Dog, now playing at the Chain Theater, is a one-man show that dives into the story of Charles Feltman, the German immigrant credited with inventing the hot dog, while also tracing Quinn's own connection to the brand. The piece follows Feltman's rise from a teenage newcomer in 1800s New York to building a massive Coney Island empire, serving thousands of guests a day. Alongside that, Quinn weaves in his own journey, reviving the Feltman name generations later. And it's a solid concept. Quinn is clearly committed. He's playing every role, moving through decades of history, and there's something very genuine about how much this story means to him. You feel that connection right away. The history itself is actually the strongest part of the show. Watching this empire come to life and realizing just how big Feltman's once was is genuinely fascinating. Where it starts to wobble is in the balance, because it's trying to be a historical deep dive, a personal story, and a broader look at entrepreneurship all at once. And while all of that is interesting, it never fully locks into one lane, so the emotional payoff doesn't quite land as strongly as it could. That said, there's definitely an audience for this, especially New Yorkers or anyone with a connection to Coney Island history. For me, it's a good, engaging solo piece that just needs a bit more focus to really stick that landing. I give this mixed faces plus.
Yes, my opinion. This is Ed Malin weighing in. This show has a big mission, teaching the public about a huge piece of Coney Island and American culinary history. Until a few summers ago, when I saw Feltman's hot dog stand in Luna Park, I had never heard of the historical restaurant that was so big it could seat 10,000 diners and whose space is now occupied by the entire Astroland amusement park. That's the scale of the story. Michael Quinn is joyous about the tale. He throws in several fun Brooklyn accents and seems thrilled about his family's connection to it all. And after curtain, he spoke to the audience about taking the show to the even more enormous Edinburgh Fringe Festival, where folks were hungry for hot dog talk. For those who were not around in 1916, when the current reigning top dog, Nathan's Famous, opened, this is all likely very new. But the idea that the recipe still exists and that we can step back in time is very appealing. Also, there's some bakery history connecting Irish and German and other builders of modern America. So I'm grateful to Quinn for putting all the characters and plot twists into a one-person show, and I give it a happy face.
At the Public's Delacourt Theater is Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet, who fall in love with each other despite their family's centuries-old enmity. City's prince is so fed up with the constant brawling that he declares the next fight will see them executed. Subsidiary characters like the nurse, played marvelously by Deirdre O'Connell, and Friar Lawrence, played to perfection by Francis Jew, meddle in the affair. This version is mostly in Spanish, with the current immigration status at the forefront. I love this. I'm giving it a happy face. On to Tony's version now.
So yes, in this production of Romeo and Juliet, the performances really carry it. We do have two wonderful actors as Juliet and Romeo. I guess making their debuts, because I've never heard of either one of them. Romeo Latia Akins and Daniel Bravo Hernandez as Juliet and Romeo are just really wonderful, and they've got great futures ahead of them. And of course, Deirdre O'Connell as the nurse and Francis Jew as Friar Lawrence were so wonderful. They're probably going to remove memories of other nurses and Friar Lawrence's from my memory banks permanently. They were so wonderful. Again, there is a problem with the direction of this show. Saheem Ali did not really factor in the fact that ice can only work as a footnote in this production and should not have kept making appearances from beginning to end. It's not something that can really carry the story. But I still gave it a happy face.
And now here's Francis Jew at the Lortel Awards telling us how he's going to be in Romeo and Juliet.
What's next for you?
I'm going to be playing Friar Lawrence in Romeo and Juliet for Shakespeare in the Park.
Oh, wow. Have you ever done Shakespeare in the Park?
A million years ago, I did Winter's Tale, and before that I did Timon of Athens, but it has been a quarter of a century since I was in the park, so.
Oh, good. New York tradition.
Yes, absolutely. I'm a little older, so.
Aren't we all?
Yes, exactly.
And thank God we don't have to stay there all day long to get a ticket.
True. The public has been making tickets so much more accessible, and it's a brand new Delacorte theater, so I can't wait to see it.
Because I have queued all night to see Shakespeare in the Park.
I have too, certainly. It's worth it.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a great night.
You too.
I'm Ed Malin reviewing Fear and Wonder by Jason Tseng. How many of us have been sent to joyful teen religious camps and knowing full well that some people are only wanting us to be there as tokens? And what happens if the token minority is not really what the majority wants, if, say, the majority is heteronormative? And what does that human exclusivity have to do with the divine, anyway? Flux creative partner Jason Tseng premieres their second play with this marvelous ensemble, and it feels like being in a church you really want to go to. Indeed, the gorgeous set from Will Lowry is a rainbow patchwork of Christian symbolism. And before we enter the world of the protagonist, the transition minister welcomes us and instructs us that the proper response to God is good is all the time. It's 2003, and Ryan meets Jabez when they are roommates at a big Christian convention. The former is African American and the latter is Asian. They laugh, they compare stories of families that expect perfectly moral children, confirm what gospel music actually is, and wish they could read Harry Potter without being censored by their home churches. While it seems like they get on each other's nerves, they also have never met anyone who listens to them quite like this. They keep in touch, they call their families using secret code words, and eventually, over the phone, they admit that they love each other. What would you do if you planned to become a minister and the person who mattered most to you emotionally was forbidden by the establishment? Over the course of the play, we find out how they cope with this and how they succeed as we jump around past, present, and future in the world of the story. I liked it a lot, and I will let Stephen fill in his opinions too. I give it a happy face.
And I have a little bit different view of this story. Neil Tyrone Pritchard and Brian Tong as Ryan and Jabez are terrific together. Their scenes feel natural, funny, awkward, and real. And every time they're on stage together, I was fully locked in. But in my opinion, Fear and Wonder keeps pulling focus away from them. The entire evening is framed as an interactive church service. There's, like Ed said, there's singing, audience participation, passing the peace, communion. Meanwhile, the best thing the show has is sitting right in front of us. I kept wishing the minister, played by Tanya E. Anderson, had simply been a narrator, just dressed as a preacher, instead of leading an actual worship service, because every time the show returned to the church service, I found myself wanting more of Ryan and Jabez's story. So there's a genuinely moving queer love story at the center of Fear and Wonder. I just don't think the show trusts it enough. So I'm giving it a mixed faces plus.
Connor Wentworth, The Circuit, an immersive silent disco ballet, has us running around Dumbo to a show that is based on La Ronde. We're wearing headsets and we chase around couples that break off to form multiple new couples, always leaving one behind. Josh Sacker's choreography is sexy, surprising, and at times heartbreaking. The setting under the Brooklyn Bridge is dramatic, especially with sunsets. Stephen could talk about it more as Vertigo once again got in my way as there are flashing lights and strobe lights. But there was someone to guide me and make sure that I wasn't affected by them. I felt so taken care of. While I missed a lot, I could certainly enjoy and admire what I could see. Happy, happy face.
And I had an absolute blast with this. The title actually had me expecting disco. What I found was something that felt much more current. The electronic dance music, or EDM soundtrack, gives the evening a club-like energy that pairs beautifully with Josh Zacker's choreography. And Dumbo is the star of the show. The dancers perform against the backdrop of the Manhattan Bridge, the Brooklyn Bridge, Jane's Carousel, the waterfront, and the Manhattan skyline. It's one of the most beautiful settings I've seen for a show all year. I also love that the audience never stays in one place for very long. One scene ends and you're off to another corner of the neighborhood, a new location, a new view, a new dance sequence. This isn't a show you just sit and watch. It's a show you experience. Big happy face.
The Fear of 13 by Lindsay Ferrantino is based on a 2015 film documentary by David Sington about Nick Yaris, who was sentenced to death in 1987 and spent 22 years on death row for a crime he did not commit. Two-time Academy Award-winning actor Adrien Brody portrays Nick Yaris. Though Brody's performance is totally acceptable, he cannot summon up enough emotional connection to the character. This role marks Adrien Brody's Broadway debut. His only other appearance on stage was in 2024 when he performed Fear of 13 at the Dunbar Warehouse in London. Tessa Thompson, who is also making her Broadway debut, fares better. She is able to summon the emotion to portray Jackie Miles, a volunteer, who believes him when he says he is innocent and falls for Nick and is desperate to find a way to get him released. Unfortunately, Brody and Thompson have less than zero chemistry. Joel Marsh Garland comes off best as a sadistic prison guard. Linda Ferrantino's script is too preachy. She is also responsible for the awful book of the Broadway musical disaster of the fall season, The Queen of Versailles. Nick Yaris does have a remarkable story to tell, and the one thing that makes Fear of 13 watchable.
I'm gobsmacked. I'm shocked. The spirit of Mark has entered your body because I so totally 100% disagree with you on all counts, including I like Queen of Versailles. Anyway, I thought Adrien Brody gave one of the most compelling performances of his life. I could barely breathe during this because my heart kept stopping because I was just on the edge of my seat because I don't know the documentary. I didn't know it was a documentary. And I'm thinking to myself, he really is a brilliant actor because I love him on film, but my God, he's good on stage. And maybe because you kept looking through it through binoculars so you could see the pimples on his face, but I got him just normal coming at me and it was brilliant. And I thought that Tessa Thompson as Jackie Miles, the way she was so sweet because you see she's this sweet little innocent little volunteer and how she, really it means something to her. She really falls into this whole oh my gosh, the whole relationship between it. I thought the chemistry was just astounding. At least we agree about the guard. He really was good. I'll agree with that. But I was just, whoa. First of all, prison stories are my favorite genre. And this I could see over and over again. I just loved it so much. I am giving this such a major happy face and kudos to Adrien Brody who I am going to right now give the overlooked award, because I'm sorry, he should be getting some sort of nod for something, because I thought his performance was beyond astounding. I mean, I went through 20 tissues on this one.
Well, I'm glad I've been inhabiting the spirit of Mark, because I know you love Mark. So hopefully you won't hate me. But unfortunately for me, Fear of 13 was a mixed face.
In Giant by Mark Rosenblatt, it's 1983. Roald Dahl has recently published the bestseller The BFG and is about to publish The Witches, which is sure to sell even better. But in between, his review of God Cried, a book about the Israeli bombing of Lebanon in 1982, has also been published. Dahl's review is deemed anti-Semitic by many, and Tom and Jesse, his British and American publishing reps, both Jewish, swoop in to mitigate possible damage to book sales. Rosenblatt himself cited in an interview with The Guardian his use of Dahl to explore anti-Semitism in debate around Israel and Palestine. So Stone is a character invented to debate Israel. No professional adult would take so much verbal abuse and play such a clearly losing game the way she does. And after Stone insists that Dahl can criticize Israel but not turn Jews into a monolith, which is the only necessary point here, she still gives a defense of Israel, which makes me think that actually the project is less about the why and more about winning an imagined argument. Worth noting, Giant was written before October 7th, 2023, but produced in London in 2024. If this is indeed what Rosenblatt meant to do, it's not the play I thought I was coming to see, and for me, not the play the public needs. But I will say I was totally absorbed. The dialogue is convincing, insults and all, invented or not. The actors conjure up full personalities in the mostly underwritten characters orbiting Dahl. My written version is the longest review I've written yet for high drama, and the most I've thought about a play in a while. I can't end without mentioning the great John Lithgow's ability to find the clever, the tender, the cruel, and the maniacal in Dahl, even with his familiar sweet face that contrasts with Dahl's more brooding one. That face helps distance us and gives us relief from the nastiness spewed on stage.
Well, it's interesting how two people can get something completely different out of a play. I mean, because I was seeing this, you saw the political stuff. I am not a political person. So, and I was just in shock because I'm probably maybe the only person in the whole wide world. I had no clue that Roald Dahl was anti-Semitic. And he's like one of my all-time favorite authors for kids. I mean, when I could finally read Elfie a book, that was with words in it, I picked the Twits. And luckily, Elfie at that point could read because I was laughing so hard. He had to read it because I just pointed, and with the two of us, spent half an hour rolling on the floor. And that's the thing about Roald Dahl. He is a very, very funny, viciously funny, but hilarious guy. So like the first act, he's set up and you're enjoying him. I'm relieved, like, okay, he's got this one flaw, but he's still this funny, wicked, but then in the second act, the mask is revealed, and it's just disheartening, to say the least. And it makes me, you're all about Israel. With me, it's like when you learn something truly heinous about somebody you admire, can you still admire him? Can you still read their books? Can you still see Nemo walking the bases and running them? I mean, I do not like to know about people's flaws of people I admire, because it upsets me beyond anything. And John Lithgow he's a national treasure. I mean, the man should be canonized in the acting world as far as I'm concerned. He's better than Laurence Olivier and Richard Burton and all those other people that people think are great. No, I'm speechless. I can't talk properly. So good thing you had this like intelligent review to give, because I'm just like all over the place with this one. But I'm giving this, I mean, I'm unhappy with the views spoken in this, but I'm very happy that this brilliant play, which I did not feel like you got propaganda. And also it shows this was 1980s. The Middle Eastern problem is never going to be solved. It just isn't. I'm sorry to say.
I give it a mixed face for the play, but a happy face for the thought it provokes.
Morgan Facetious won an Off-Broadway Alliance Award for his show Can I Be Frank, which is currently at Soho Playhouse till tonight. And here he is talking about it.
Hey. Thank you for that beautiful introduction. This is really a big honor for me and for our entire team. The idea of a solo, if anyone has ever worked on a solo knows, is really a misnomer, because there's no such thing as a one-person performance. And I think that feels particularly true with this show, because it really is a duet with, as you mentioned, this incredible legendary performer named Frank Maya, who was a comedian, a performance artist, and musician who died of AIDS in 1995. A dear friend, Julie Halston, so I'm very honored to be in the room with you. Like so many artists who died of AIDS, I never heard his name. And we know that forgetting is not a coincidence, but a structural amnesia. And so it has been a real gift to get to learn about this figure. And I, first of all, want to just thank his loved ones and friends and family and collaborators who've been so generous with me over the past couple of years to share their stories and memories about Frank, and also about the scene of downtown East Village performance art that enabled him and enabled me and so many other artists. The show that I'm revisiting of his was from 1987 at La Mama. And just deep gratitude to the constellation of venues and arts workers at the Kitchen and PS 122 and La Mama who gave Frank opportunities and have given me opportunities. And want to thank just deeply the entire team that made Can I Be Frank? First and foremost, the up-and-coming director, Sam Pinkelton. He's got a bright future. This show is a thank you letter to everyone who is resisting the state-sanctioned premature death of communities that are marked as disposable. First and foremost, that includes long-term survivors of HIV and AIDS, and those who are insisting that we not forget the legacies of artists who died of HIV and AIDS, including particularly the organization Visual AIDS, who's been so important to make sure that what is remembered lives. A deep gratitude to everyone who's come. I think there's a place for all of us in resisting and in surviving, and I'm deeply grateful for this community of artists for welcoming us and honoring us. Thank you so much.
And now for theater listings and theater mentionings and all sorts of theater related stuff. And our next show is July 11th. Origin Theater Festival is back. We love that festival. And they're doing a celebration of Enda Walsh. And they had an opening concert at Patty Riley's Music Bar, led by Max Bartos and the Mother Folkers and special guests. The events are happening all over the boroughs until July 2nd, so you should go to this Facebook page to find out where they all are. And I couldn't help it. June 21st, I went to En Ville Bosch Cafe in the Bronx for Enda Walsh's adaptation of The Twits. I love that place so much, and it's all about these unbelievable, evil, fighting, tyrannical couple. And it's so timely because I was starting to cry in the middle of it, thinking of that asshole in the White House. Oh, so it hit home. And Bruno Giraldi is back at Don't Tell Mamas on July 11th. And good old Richard Skipper celebrates life lessons from legends. Carol Channing, Leslie Ann Warren, and more. What they taught me and what I now share with you is going to be at the Laurie Beachman, Friday, July 10th at 7 o'clock. And Hotsy Totsy is back with a burlesque tribute to Godzilla. It'll be at the Slipper Room Thursday, July 9th. Oh my God, that is going to be a riot. And closing June 27th is the Last Out Gate at the Chain Theater, which one of our people saw just for the heck of it and enjoyed it very much. Just went for his own pleasure, so you know it's good. And what we're going to talk about on our next show, will be Dog Day Afternoon, about a robbery gone bad, with my friend from the 80s, Michael Kostroff, who I haven't seen in a while. He plays the bank manager. And Bina and I will talk about Girl Interrupted at the Public Theater, about a depressed girl who checks herself into a mental hospital after a suicide attempt, and her relationship with the other inmates during the 60s. So there's a lot of stuff going on still, even though it's July, and happy 250th America.